Hey there and welcome to the channel and welcome back for another What's for Dinner. In this week's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 6 different dinner ideas that I made for my family of 5 this week. Now, as most of you guys may know, my husband does work nights, so I'm usually just feeding the 4 of us, me and my 3 kids. I typically keep things really simple, but since my husband was home a couple extra nights this week due to Christmas, I made a few extra meals that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So if you're interested, then make sure you subscribe so you can check out more of my What's for Dinner videos, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. So we are starting off with a family favorite here, and that would be bacon cheeseburgers. And I made some of these TikTok viral potatoes to go with it. Now, they did not come out how I wanted them to on this first night, but I will tell you what, here on the second night, you guys, they came out so delicious. So I had to share this recipe with you. Now, starting off with the potatoes, here's everything that you're going to be needing. So I have 2 cloves of garlic, some Parmesan cheese, about 4 large potatoes sliced up, and then I have all these seasonings and a stick of butter. You want to make sure your stick of butter is nice and room temperature. Mine was not soft at all, so I had to throw it in the microwave just for a few seconds to make sure that I could smash it down really good like this. And then I'm going to be adding in my garlic. I just have those 2 cloves of garlic there and about a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And I'm also adding in about a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of parsley, and about a tablespoon of salt and pepper. And you want to give that a really good mix. Now, moving over to our baking dish, we're going to go ahead and just lather the bottom of this baking dish up with that butter that we made. And then once you're finished with that, you're going to go ahead and layer your potatoes up. You only want 1 layer of potatoes here. So the first thing that I know I did wrong here was I cut my potatoes way too big the first time. These were way too large to get nice and crispy like I wanted them to. So you'll see on my second attempt at making these, I have very tiny coin-shaped potatoes. That is the size that you want. You do not want these large potatoes. I used Idaho baking potatoes this first time. For the second time, I used yellow creamy potatoes, and that made a huge difference when making this dish. I'm brushing the tops of my potatoes with some butter, and then I'm also going to be sprinkling them with some salt, some pepper, and some of my favorite Flavor God's Garlic Lovers seasoning. Next, I'm going to be adding on some more Parmesan cheese, and here was the second thing that I did wrong. You guys see that Parmesan cheese? That is not the type of Parmesan that you want to make these potatoes super crispy. This did absolutely nothing for my potatoes. I should have just had more shredded Parmesan cheese to add on top, but I got lazy and I wanted to shred it up quickly, so I used my bigger shredder instead of my tiny shredder. That was a big mistake. So you're supposed to bake these at 425 for about 40 minutes. I did have mine for 40 minutes, but they just did not get crispy because, like I said, I cut them way too big. So next time when I went to go make them, I made them a lot smaller, and I also cooked them for closer to 50 minutes. Here was the second time I was making them. You guys can see that I sprinkled the top with that tiny shredded Parmesan cheese, and this made a huge difference when making these potatoes. Look at how much crispier these came out. I left them in for about 5 extra minutes, so I think I did a total of 50 minutes, but at 425, they came out exactly how I wanted them to. These were absolutely delicious, and I really hope you guys try these out. Now we are finally getting started on some burgers. So I just had my ground beef that I patted out into some balls, and now I'm going to be smashing these down just to make them a little quicker to cook. My daughter requested a McDonald's cheeseburger for dinner this night, so you guys will see when I go to smash hers down. I think it's the first one I do here. I'm going to smash it like super thin. You guys know McDonald's patties are really thin, and I wanted it to be very similar for her, so that is just what I'm doing here. I have my 2 pieces of parchment paper, and I'm using a flat plate just so I can smash it a little easier. It just makes this process super quick using the parchment paper and a plate to smash the burger down. Here was her patty. You guys will see I make my other ones just a little bit thicker than this, but they are all still going to be a little bit on the thin side because I just want them to cook up super quick. Now moving over to my griddle, you guys just saw the seasoning that I'm using on these burgers. I like to grind mine up. That way that chunky seasoning isn't getting stuck to the pan that we're cooking it on. Tonight I'm using my griddle just to make this a lot easier. I like to use my cast iron normally, but when I'm trying to get things done quickly, my griddle is such an easy thing to pull out just so I can cook everything at once. And then the bacon was already cooked up and I'm assembling it to my kids' preferences along with some apples. And that was all for their dinner on this night. Now we are jumping straight into an oldie but a goodie and one of my kids' absolute favorite dinners, which would be breakfast for dinner. On this night in particular, I was making some eggs and kielbasa. I really didn't think it was anything too spectacular that you guys would want to see a recipe for, but for my kielbasa, I just cut it up into coins. I season it with our favorite seasoning blends, and then I go ahead and just cook them until they are nice and crispy on the edges, and that is how we all prefer it here. Keeping it really simple on myself this night, I just served it with some buttered toast with the toppings at the table that the kids could put the toppings on themselves, and then they also have a banana, and that was all for their dinner on this night. You guys will have to let me know if breakfast for dinner is a family favorite in your house too. I think it's probably a pretty common favorite across the board. Now moving right along, we are going to be making one of my personal favorites, which is mustard fried chicken. I love a good mustard fried chicken. Here is everything that you need. I have some Drake's fry mix, some oil, which you're going to need way more oil than that. I just didn't fill up my bottle yet. And then I have some chicken tenders, our favorite seasoning blend, and then those potatoes are already baked, but those are for the french fries, so we'll get back to those in a few minutes. I am starting off my chicken by giving a generous amount of seasoning to my flour here. You guys want plenty of seasoning when you are seasoning up your flour, otherwise you're not going to taste the thing. I promise you it may look like a lot, but you're probably going to want to add more in the end. Now for the fun part, you're going to go ahead and grab your yellow mustard and you're going to coat this on your chicken really well. You can also feel free to go ahead and season up your mustard. Normally I do. Once you have your chicken fully coated, we're going to go ahead over to our stove where we have our oil nice and heated up in our pan. We're just going to drop those chicken tenders in, and these are going to cook for 8 to 10 minutes or until they reach the internal temperature of 165 degrees. And that's how you know they are finished. Now for these french fries, I'm doing them a little bit differently than I normally would. Normally I would just go in with a raw potato and double fry them or flash fry them, freeze them, and then fry them again. Here I'm using some leftover baked potatoes that we had in the fridge, so I was being very, very careful when I was cutting my french fry shapes. Some of them just wanted to fall right apart on me, but I did do the best I could, which really wasn't too bad in the end. They came out great. Now I am using the same oil that I cooked my chicken in. If this disturbs you in any way, then I'm really sorry. You guys can use a clean pot of oil if you want. Normally I would also sift my oil before doing this, but my sifter had recently broken. Don't worry, I have a new one. But honestly, doing things like this doesn't bother me because it's all going to the same place anyways. So I'm just cooking up my french fries. I'm making sure not to overcrowd my pot. I don't want any of those french fries sticking together, but I did cook them for about, I'd say, 6 minutes until they were nice and crispy. And then I'm just going to remove them and put them on a drying rack just so that they don't get all soggy. Now you just saw me season up those french fries, and here's how I served this dinner. Two of my kiddos wanted a chicken sandwich, so that's how I made theirs. I just plated it to their preference, and I also made them all a smoothie. This had some avocado, pineapple, banana, and raspberries in it. On this night, we are making some chicken and dumplings. I cannot wait to share this recipe with you guys. I was actually pleasantly surprised on how I found this recipe. I have all the ingredients laid out here. I actually bought these frozen biscuits at Walmart recently, and I picked them up because honestly, I am always looking for a quick biscuit recipe and I can never perfect it. And I am honestly the only one in my house that eats biscuits. So I picked these up and I have been really enjoying just pulling one or two out just for myself or for whoever wants one at the time. Now I realized on the back of this bag that they have a chicken and dumplings recipe. When I saw this, you guys, I could not help myself but make this. I loved chicken and dumplings growing up. However, I never made them myself, so this was my first attempt and I was so happy with how it came out. Now, since this recipe is literally directly on the back of the bag of biscuits that you use for this recipe, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw on some music and let you enjoy watching me make this dinner. Now, I did go ahead and make my kids grilled cheese because I honestly was not sure how they were going to like this one. A couple of them did try the chicken and dumplings, but nobody really liked the dumpling part of it. They did like the chicken and the broth. I served it with some apples for them, and me and my husband just had the bowl of chicken and dumplings, and this was absolutely fantastic. I will definitely be keeping this dinner in our rotation. Now we are making some pork fried rice, and this is one of my favorite ways to use up leftovers. You can use any meat in this, any vegetables. You can use rice that's left over from the next day. The options are so versatile here. So over on my stove, I already have my wok heating up with 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to be dropping 2 eggs in there and scrambling them up all the way. I'm also giving them a little bit of salt and pepper. You can season up your egg however you like. And then once these eggs are done fully cooking, I'm going to go ahead and push them over to the side because I don't want them to overcook too much. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop some oil down just so it can heat up for a minute or two. And then we're going to add in our rice right on top of that oil. After giving that a good mix, you can go ahead and add in your soy sauce. I would say I'm using about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce here and just a splash of rice vinegar. You do not need much of this at all. I'm giving it some garlic powder, some salt and pepper, and giving that a really good stir so that that rice is fully coated in the soy sauce. Comes in our leftover pork chop that I had. I just diced it up into bite-sized pieces, and I'm going to mix that in throughout the rice. Now over to my cast iron, I have it heating up with some oil, and I have some vegetables that I'm adding in there. My broccoli is already pre-steamed and my green beans are pre-blanched. I have some carrots and onions as well. Now you guys can feel free to throw these veggies in your rice. I love doing that for myself, but for my kids, they're definitely not going to eat it that way. I'm lucky to get them to eat a few bites of vegetables as is, and I'm not going to ruin the food that they do like fried rice, by adding in a whole bunch of vegetables to it. So I prefer to just cook it on the side and serve it to them like that. I just cook up these vegetables until they're getting really soft with some oil, some butter, some garlic lover seasoning, a little bit of salt and pepper. And I'd say these vegetables took about 10 to 15 minutes to cook all the way to the softness that we like. I also served a few bites of shrimp with this. My 4-year-old is actually the one who requested shrimp with this dinner. And then I made some yum yum sauce to go with it. So I have 4 tablespoons of mayo here. And I would normally do 2 tablespoons of ketchup, and I didn't realize I was out of ketchup. Luckily, in our packet drawer, we had 1 packet of ketchup left, so I'm just squeezing that 1 packet of ketchup in there. And you guys will see at the end, I go in with a little bit of sweet Thai chili because I didn't feel like this ketchup gave it enough. I gave it a splash of rice vinegar, season it up with some paprika, salt, pepper, and sugar, and then give it a really good mix. Now I am going in with 1 tablespoon of melted butter, except my tablespoon turned into like a teaspoon because it exploded in the microwave. And then I have about 2 teaspoons of water here. Mix that up. This is just to thin out your sauce a little bit more. And then I went in with that sweet chili sauce like I told you guys because I did not feel like that ketchup gave it enough. And it was perfect for serving after this. And that was our dinner. Here is my plate. I highly recommend trying this out if you guys have never tried making hibachi style dinner at home. It is a sure win, and it is much easier to make than it actually looks. And we have made it to our final dinner. I was excited to share this dinner with you guys. It is some barbecue baked chicken wings, and these come out so crispy every time. I absolutely love making these chicken wings this way. So I'm starting off by seasoning up my chicken. I have some salt and pepper, some adobo, some garlic powder, some Goya complete seasoning, and some paprika. Once those chicken wings are coated really well in your seasoning, you're going to go ahead and lay them on a lined baking sheet. I like to line my baking sheets just to make cleanup a lot easier for this. The barbecue will get stuck all over your pan if you're not careful. And these chicken wings are going to bake in the oven at 375 degrees for about 20 minutes to start. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull them out because we're going to put the barbecue on top of them. Here are the barbecue sauces that I'm using. I have some hickory and brown sugar and some original Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauces. We like the original the best, but my kids like the sweetness from the hickory brown sugar one, so that's why I'm mixing it up here. I do add more of the original than the sweet one because we just like the original one a lot better, especially me and Dad. But I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up really well. And then I'm just gonna put that all over my chicken wings, and I'm gonna bake these in the oven again for another 15 minutes or until they get really nice and crispy with that barbecue sauce on top. And here are the chicken wings out of the oven, so crispy and so good. They are full of flavor. If you guys don't try any other recipes in tonight's video, I definitely want you guys to try this one. I'm sure even your pickiest eater is going to love it. I went ahead and just served this with a super simple boxed dinner side and some broccoli. This was only my oldest son's plate because the two little ones were already at the table chowing down. And then here was my plate. I just served mine with a dinner roll as well. My kids don't like dinner rolls, otherwise I probably would have given them one too. And that was all for this week's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you subscribed to stick around. As always, thank you so much for making it this far. I really appreciate you, and we will see you guys back real soon for another video. Bye!